I'm going to give an introduction. Ephraim is somebody I've known for like a decade. And we sort of met on Twitter in the nonprofit Twitter space. And Ephraim has such a wealth of knowledge about nonprofits. He especially has really deep experience with communications and everything around year end. So as I was thinking what people who are working with me or on my newsletter could get for this year end, because I've been working on direct mail, etc. I thought of Ephraim immediately. And so here we are sharing so many great tips that can help people. One thing is there's just a tsunami of emails that come out at year end. And so how can we rise above all that noise? What can we do to inspire, engage, and call donors to action when we're using email? So which might be coming in with, your bank statements ready and time for your vet visit, those kinds of things. So I'm just going to recap. We're going to be talking about sort of the top to tail subject line, who it's from, all the way down to the footer. And as we have time, we're also going to kind of hit on how to remove the friction from your donation form. So key. So as people come in, let me just see who else is here. I'm going to invite people to participate if they want, and unmute if they want. And we'll also take questions. You can put questions in either the chat or in the Q&A box. So Ephraim, I thought we might start at the very top. I'm going to be popping in with major donor things related to major donors as we go along, but Ephraim's going to do the bulk of the presentation.
See, all right, where are we starting at the top? Subject lines?
Subject line or who it's from. That's the other thing we talk a lot about.
So let's start with who it's from, and then I'll move into subject lines. The who it's from is, I don't know about everybody here, but in general, people's inboxes are overflowing. And when I say overflowing, I call it a nuclear disaster zone. And because of that, if you, as you're scrolling through your inbox to find out which email you're going to open, if you don't know who it's from, odds are you're just not going to open up that email. So if who it's from should either be, one, the name of a person that the subscriber would recognize, someone at your organization, two, the name of your organization, or three, a combo of those two. So it could be Kerry from Cleary Center, and that triggers a name plus the name of the organization, and then they go, oh, I know who those people are. Let me decide if I want to read their email. Now, sometimes based on the name, they'll open up the email, they know who it is. Other times you're going to have to wait for the subject line. And so I'll just share some quick subject line tips with you. The first is, just so you know, a data point that 35% of your subscribers open an email based solely on the subject line. That's 1/3 of your subscribers. So if your subject lines stink, 1/3 of your subscribers aren't even going to bother opening it. And you've just lost a lot of opportunities to build relationships and raise money. Let's talk about a couple of subject lines that would work. You can use things like the things that are clever and catchy. I like this one I saw: 1 click, 2 click, right click, new click. Short and sweet works. We're thankful for you. That works. Asking a question. This is one that is one of my, the topic isn't necessarily an enjoyable one, but I love this one. Heat or eat, which would you choose? And it was from a food bank. And if you didn't have enough money to do both, what would you do? Would you heat your house during the winter, or would you feed your family? This is a great question because it's not yes or no. If you're going to ask a question in your subject line, make me have to think about the answer and then open the email to think more. If you ask a yes or no question in your subject line, I already know the answer. I don't need to open up the email. So keep them curious. Make it a thinking question. Use numbers and stats. Those always work. People love listicles. And you could offer a sneak peek. I happen to like this one, a playlist made by and for the people. So, I want to know what's this playlist that they have for me. A couple more that would work. Sense of urgency, which end of year is perfect for that. The only caveat to that is don't say urgent in every single subject line for every single email you send at year end, because at some point, even if I don't open the emails, it loses its urgency. I see you keep saying urgent, 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 but is it really urgent? Because, so at some point it loses that urgency. So don't use it all the time, but definitely use it. create curiosity. I love this one, not just a nursery rhyme. And it was a great one from the Houston Food Bank. Offer value. Email is a two-way street. Use your subject line to offer value. Got vaccine questions? We can help. This was from COVID. Personalization. If you put the first name of the subscriber in the subject line, you can get up to 50% better open rate. So Mary, send a Thanksgiving message to youth. Okay. The one thing I would advise you don't do, and this comes from an organization that emails me every single month, their subject line is our monthly e-newsletter. That is not going to get me to open. And for 3 years, they've been emailing me. I have never opened any of their emails, and yet they keep sending me emails. They don't clean their list, and they just keep sending. So that's a quick primer on subject lines, what works, and the one thing that really doesn't work.
And I'm just going to add, when you're emailing with major donors or mid-level donors, usually that is coming just from you. So you don't have the challenge of who is it from. However, I think you still need to make sure that there is a feeling of value about why you're getting in touch with your donors. So many of us have been working to get in front of donors this year, and it has been a bit of a challenge for some of our major gift donors because people have not been feeling the wealth. There's been a lot of economic uncertainty. And even though people might have great financial resources, they can still feel a little more poor than they did last year. So what you want to do when you're reaching out to donors is have something related to the work of the gift. I'm always encouraging people to put the donor right next to the mission accomplishment or the work that you've told them that is going to be done with their gift. So I wouldn't put an update, much like I wouldn't put that for a subject line, a monthly newsletter, and I wouldn't put what I need from you. So there are a lot of emails that we send. I'd like to get 5 minutes of your time. I'd like to share with you something. You're asking from the donor, but I would put out there what you want to tell them, what you want to talk about, the accomplishment of your gift, or hear more about that. So instead of about what you want and need to meet with to get money from your major donors, you're going to give them what you're sharing about, not you getting time from them, but about the mission, impact, and what they did with their last gift. That's going to be much more effective. If you're not getting those opened, you might also try another method. So if you're doing emails only, honey, pick up the phone or send a card. Just hadn't heard from you, just wanted to share, your past support has been so important to us. I'd love to have a conversation. Drop me a line. Here's my email, or here's my business card. So, all right.
I will just quickly add to what Beth Ann said, because Beth Ann is the relationship building queen of the sector. I forgot to add one other thing. It's not just a matter of putting your name or the name of the organization. It's also the email address that you use. If the email address is generic, info, contact, email, e-news, donate, you're basically telling the subscriber, I don't care to hear from you. You're basically saying, you know what? If you reply, you're just going to reply to some generic email address that nobody's going to reply to.
Yeah, it shares.
It's all about communications. Exactly. It's all about communicating.
It's a mass email.
Back and forth with an individual subscriber. Put your personal email address. What's the worst that happens? They actually email you back. Now you're talking to a person. Can't get better than that.
Yes, I've also been, actually where I worked, we had a second email address for the executive director. So the email would come from the executive director, but instead of our emails, I think were first name, last name. Instead of that, it was like first name, initial of last name. So it was .that. And so it would always come from that person. So it looked like it was coming from her. However, it went to a separate email that could be managed because, we had a massive list. I'm totally down with that. But actually having it come from a person feels much more personal. I'm going to tell you, major gift donors don't want to be treated like mass market people. They feel like they're invested in your organization and they want to do it. And so it's worth the investment to pay for one more email avatar or email to have for people. We kind of do, we get pinchy on costs for things like, I'm not going to put another stamp on another letter, and then we lose what comes from that personalization. So thank you for pointing that out. Also, what about the images, Ephraim? We've talked about, what we do. Also, maybe you can talk a little bit about what if images don't, show up well, or I don't know, they're the wrong type of images. Tell us a little bit about that.
All right, let's talk. We just got you got somebody to open the email. Great job. You literally have 9 seconds. That's the average read rate of an email today. It used to be 13. It is now down to 9. You have no time to capture. I mean, you literally have a second. So I'm going to share with you what that means in terms of what I call the hero image. And if you'll see here on the screen, this is from, give me one sec. There we go. Now it's a little bit bigger. You want to get an image at the top of your email that captures my attention and makes me want to continue skimming. They're not going to read the whole thing. They're going to skim and scan your emails, but at least capture my attention enough so that I stick around for a couple more seconds. This one from the American Diabetes Association caught my attention. The picture is not one of smiling people or not smiling. It's a picture of determination. And they match it very well with their call to action, make a difference in the lives of millions. Diabetes here impacts millions of people every year. Your contribution can help millions living with diabetes and the loved ones who care for them. I love this picture and this call to action here. Join us today. And so it's a call to action to people to join. So I happen to like this picture. It caught my attention. I'm going to continue reading. This one from Action Against Hunger. This kid just, well, you're going to continue reading. And the fact that it's a thank you email for Donor Appreciation Week, they've got this thank you over the picture here. You're going to keep on reading. And this one from Make-A-Wish. This is Rich when he was a kid, and his wish was to be a pilot. Guess what? Today he's a pilot. Now, what's amazing, you'll sort of get this when you first see the picture at the top. This is the top. When you start reading down and you read the story, you'll realize, oh, that's the same person. And then you'll go back to this picture and it'll really resonate with you. But this already captured my attention when I first saw it. Pictures need to capture somebody's attention and then get them to continue skimming and scanning the email. If your picture is a dud, if there's no picture there, it's an all text email, there's a chance they'll look for a quick second, maybe do something, maybe not. That picture is kind of the glue to the email to keep them on their phone or on their computer for an extra couple seconds and get their attention. So you want to make sure that that's an attention getter. And
that it relates to the content of the email.
Oh boy, I've seen the exact opposite and it's bad. So yes, 100%.
Now, a question 100%. Might be, do I insert images for major gift donors? You can do that. I love to put people right next to the mission. I've also sent short videos sometimes. By that, though, depending on the age of your major gift donors, they may feel more or less comfortable clicking on videos that are attached, but if it's your name and organization, they'll probably feel comfortable. Images that reflect what I call the dollars getting the work done are the best, or mission accomplished. Like we just built the school I wanted to show you because I want you to, I want to see what you've helped us create or that you've helped create. Those are really special. I've also just done a quick thank you of me and maybe a few other staff, because people don't often see the staff if you're in a national organization, and having your face and having someone that they can relate to can be also very positive. If you haven't had a phone call, Zoom, or meeting with them, it makes you more real. So I would just suggest that. You might want to make sure that the image is a little bit compressed, so you're not having full size type images that are, if they open it up on a computer, it's like 10 times the size of most emails, or that it takes a lot of space. So that's just my other suggestion on that. Good.
And we will not forget alt text for people with disabilities and accessibility issues. Make sure you put alt text on all your images so that readers can read it And I also, the other reason is some people do have images turned off for every email they get. On purpose, they do that, which means that if you send an image with no alt text, all they see on their screen is this big empty box. That's all they get as an image. And that is not going to make them want to continue reading down. In fact, they're going to bounce. So alt text for all your images.
I mean, we should take a little moment right now, actually, Ephraim, to talk about visual abilities that people have. So something like 20% of the population has some sort of visual impairment. I mean, you would call me with my glasses having visual impairment. But as the population ages, they have more of that. So I know that some people do turn off that so that when they're roaming and they open an email, they won't have the data suck that you might have when it automatically downloads images or videos. But larger font, yes, people can adjust the size of font on their phone for sure. But a little larger font. Make sure you test an email. If you aren't sure you're doing it the first time or you're adjusting your fonts, send a test email to yourself or to a colleague and take a look what it looks like on mobile and on maybe if you have an iPad or tablet of some sort or on the computer, just to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. And alt text is so much more respectful so people understand what that image is. Even when I send my newsletter, in the alt text of my image of my signature, I say Beth Ann signature. So just people understand what it is, and you're not helping people feel more left out. And people,
yes,
it's very easy to feel left out in this world. So that's images. You want to hit the call to action?
I will hit
the button and the actual CTA.
That's right. So here's the deal with the button. There's a whole Oh boy, there's a whole, I could go on for hours just about the button itself, but I will not do that. What I will say about call to action is as follows. Again, you have very short amount of time to catch my attention reading an email. People skim and scan. Therefore, you need to be very clear what you want them to do and then tell them what action you want them to do. I'm not a big fan, though, however, of buttons that just say donate now, give now. I want you to tell them an action that they can do. So I want to share with you 2 examples of what that would look like so you get an idea. Just 1 second, please. Here we go. Let's do this one. Oh, come on. There we go. Take a look at this one. Help us reach the many homeless and hungry people in our community. Look at this button. Yes, I'll give a meal and more. This is a great call to action. This isn't just donate now. This is me I know what action I need to take. I want to go give, and it tells me the impact of what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be giving a meal and more to the people who need it. Or this one from the Red Cross, which I got. Give shelter, give meals. It's not give now. It's not give money. It's give shelter. It's give meals. Again, the impact of what you're doing. Your donors want to know, you telling me there's a problem, how can I solve it? What is that problem? How can I solve it? Give shelter tells me this is the problem and I can solve it by giving. Or give meals. Those 2 words alone, I don't even need, it's great that they have the icon. I'm a big fan of that icon above it. I'm a big fan of Day of Meals for Shelter Residents. I'm a big fan of provide meals to refuel those staying in our shelters. Let's say I didn't see any of that, but I knew this was give meals. That already tells me something. And I already know where it's going. And that's what you want with your calls to action. I don't want boring. I want action oriented, and I want you to tell me what you want me to do and what I can accomplish with my gift. So sometimes you'll have a matching campaign. Yes, you could put double your donation as a whatchamacallit, as a call to action. Matching gifts work very well in emails and in other things. More people give more money. Double your donation, triple your donation, whatever it is, that's fine. Triple your gift. Probably better than saying donation, less transactional, let's put it that way. But that's how I look at CTAs. As far as the button itself, I'll be very simple. Make it big, bright, easy to see. Use your branded colors, and so I can see it. Remember that on the phones, it shouldn't look like this small thing that I have to go look for and enlarge the screen. Make it easy for me to find so I can click and I'm gone over to the donation form.
Can I just comment? Will you bring up the Red Cross one real quick? It's interesting to me because those CTAs remind me a little more of what I used to put on a response device, the back of a response device for a direct mail. You know, sometimes I'd have a little check box because there's a whole thing about when they actually check, yes, I'd like to give shelter. And it's so funny because on websites, it's almost always donate. I almost always see that because whoever's made the website just wants that donate to usually take them not sometimes just to a giving page, but sometimes there's sort of a landing page that, you know, gives them a restatement. And I think we get stuck on how we're doing it on a website instead of thinking more about the donor's thought process, the wanting to do. So much of what donors want is to use the resources they have to do, to make a change, to improve the world, whatever they're doing like that. So I think that's really great. One thing I would say is for your major gift donors, you may be sending them something like this, or they may be caught up in your mass email. Many places I've worked have an email list that is a everything email. It's the kitchen sink. Every human that we know is in there, and there's no segmentation for actual, you know, mid-level or well, any kind of donor. Sometimes people use two different emails. So when you're emailing, your major gift donors around year end looking for a conversation, I would make sure to let them know if you've received one of our emails. Of course, we'd love to have you give, but I'd like to talk to you about the impact your gift has made in the last year or over the last 24 months or something like that. You want to kind of try to get in front of them with a conversation so that you can, you know, potentially inspire them to a bigger gift, or make sure that they're not sort of giving down, because the giving string in your everyday gifts like those tend to go up to something like 500. They don't necessarily go up to those high numbers that your major donors might be giving.
I will just add to that, because Beth Ann mentioned it, and it's really important. You should be doing this for every campaign, whether it's direct email, or whatnot. You need to segment out your donors. So let's talk for 2 seconds about the content of your emails. Okay. We know from the data that in a direct mail piece, something that gets sent to a person's house, longer letters do better than shorter. When it comes to email, shorter is better. Again, that average read rate, people don't have time. They have a lot of emails to read. So you need to get in, tell them what the problem is, what will be the impact of their gift, and go. The framework of your ask, your fundraising ask, can be the same no matter who the donor is. But there's a different way to ask monthly donors, your annual donors, small donors, mid-size, major, volunteers, board members. I could go on. That list goes on and on. You want to take your email list and segment it, because Beth Ann just said it right. If you're sending the same letter to a monthly donor as you are to a major donor, you're A, going to tick some people off potentially, and B, you're leaving a ton of money on the table for absolutely no reason. So you've got to segment your email list. Again, the fundraising ask as a framework can be the same pretty much, but there are differences in the language and stuff like that in the content for a monthly giver as opposed to a major donor.
The other thing is you need to have the single most important thing as your email ask, your call to action. Do not invite them to volunteer, invite them to give, invite them to go watch this video that takes them off your website or off that page. You know, I know sometimes we want to accomplish a lot in one email. Those need to be separate emails with separate engaging, you know, lines. If you want to see your gift in action, we have a 1.5 minute video that will fill you up before we hit the holidays. Will, you know, make your heart sing, something like that. You know, when you give them too many things to do, they're not going to do the thing that's giving money, because everybody goes to kind of the easiest common denominator. So keep that in mind. There should be one single important thing in your email. When you're emailing one-to-one with major gift donors, I always start out with a kind of thank you for their gift, for their past giving, for whatever, thank you for whatever they've been doing, and then move into the, because I want to start with appreciation, then move into the point of my email. Please do not think, since I have the attention of my donor and they're going to open this email, you now are going to have an email that looks this long looking at it on a computer. No, this is not the time to explain the cycle of nonprofits and everything that you're doing. You need to build room for the donor to have curiosity and to respond, to ask you questions. So make sure you're not trying to blast them with every piece of information so they should be able to overcome every objection. No, make space for their own curiosity so they might respond back.
Yes. Now, while Beth Ann was talking and I was listening, she had said something that I have to find. I don't have it here. Darn, I wish I could. I have to go find the data point. Beth Ann said something that is unbelievably important. When you send out an email like this, one call to action, nothing more. Very focused. You want them to click on the call to action that is give. Nothing else. And I'm good. Here, I found the data point, Beth Ann. Okay. Emails with a single call to action increase clicks by 371%. So let's talk about that for 5 seconds. If you send me an e-newsletter with 57 different links, right, or it has 9 stories in it, I'm not clicking. When you send it with one call to action, it's very focused. It will increase clicks by hundreds of percents. Now think about your end of year campaign, your fundraising ask. Do not ask them like Beth Ann said, go watch a video, sign this, do this. No, you're asking for one clear thing. Give a gift. You will get a lot more people clicking through and a lot more people donating.
Did you say 375%?
Yes. 371. Wow. Yes.
One. Still, okay. Still very good.
We can all do the math. It's very good. Yes. When there's one, by the way, that is across all emails. So even when you're sending a regular email, I'm not talking a fundraising ask, it is better to always have one call to action. I understand that's not always possible, and that's fine. But it's certainly in a fundraising ask, you do not want to be sending them anywhere else except to give. That's it. That is the only task they have or that you want to give them.
As we finish the body of the email, the other thing, I mean, I'm talking about major gift people, you always have a signature, but to me, when your email that is coming from the organization does not have a person who signed it, like it's not from a person, it looks like a marketing email, like it came from, Walmart or something, where they never sign anything. So can you talk a little bit about that? I feel super strongly about this, but I don't actually know the data.
Okay, so I'll say it like this. This is why I said a bit earlier that the email address that it comes from and the reply to is super important. Email is a communication which is one-to-one between someone at your organization and the individual subscriber. I know you think you're writing to 10,000 people on your list. You're not. That email goes to one person at a time. And you want to talk to that person. So the email address is important so that if they click reply, it now says the name of a person and the email address. Now they know they're replying to somebody. In terms of the e-signature, I would have the headshot, the name, the position of that person. And there, if you really want to nicen it up, you could put that, e-signature, but certainly in a fundraising
digital,
an
image
signature
of their signature. Yeah.
Yep. If you're asking people to giving is done from person to person. It's a people to people thing. That's what fundraising is. You're building a relationship. So let them see the face of the person who's asking, get their name, what's their position. Could be the director of development, could be a program manager, could be a volunteer, a board member, CEO. I'm not worried about who it's from. That's a whole separate discussion. But at least have that information. And if you really want, add that person's email address also, again, there at the e-signature. This way they can connect with you. Let's say I don't want to give right now, but I do have a question about planned giving. I do have a question about a capital campaign or something else. Mm-hmm. Your email is right there, and they have an easy gate, an easy highway to get to you and talk to you.
And actually, I love switching up who's sending these sort of mass emails. even if you still have it sort of from the executive director's name, you can say, we had an email takeover today from our head of the homelessness task people, the homelessness task force. And then somebody who's what I call a frontline person is giving their point of view. I think it's so important to offer different points of view than just the leader or the paid staff who are fundraising in the organization. So I'm not against an annual giving person, because when we only put the leadership there, we kind of have this feeling that hierarchy is really important. I think breaking down that is important to different generations of donors. There are some older people who just love hierarchy. They always want to hear from the top dog. But there are other people who want to like look behind the curtain and see what's happening really at the front lines or behind the scenes or something like that. So now we were going to talk about
just
what?
1 second.
Yeah.
I want to add to that, because what you said is really important, especially with an end of year ask. And it certainly goes year round also with your storytelling. Your beneficiaries, your service recipients are not the only ones who have stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Your volunteers do, your staff does, your board members. Today I saw emails from, I got an email from parents of a kid who's sick, and they're the ones who are making the ask. I got an email today from cooks at a food bank. Okay, the cook. And you hear from them what they have to do to get set up for everybody else in the food and the ordering and the receiving of goods and everything else. You have a lot of people in your organization who can tell stories. It's not just, yes, it's good to have your service recipients who benefited from what you're doing, but you've got a lot of other people. Tell all those stories, because you never know what's going to touch somebody a certain way. I may be a parent of a kid like this. You know what? I also used to work in a kitchen. It doesn't matter what the connection is, but you'll find something and you'll get more people in the door.
Well, Ephraim, actually, a lot of people have cooked in general, even if it's only a meal for their family or themselves. Yep. So, and I think the more facets of the story, the nonprofit stories are like a diamond. The more facets you have, the more bright light it shines. And I just think it really helps people feel more connected. That's what you want to do, is have a connection more, because listen, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of emails that are going to be going out from today until December 31. Well, some people are going to, just one person will receive thousands of emails. And one way to differentiate yourself is to not always have the executive director talking about their need, talking about the December 31 last chance to give. It is not the last chance to give. Okay, footers. When you talk about footers, I was like, oh, I never really thought of. They often have an automatic footer with your email provider.
That's right. And you know what? Footers are one of the most important pieces of real estate on your email, and yet they are the most underused of all the parts of an email. And we've discussed a whole bunch of parts: subject line, who it's from, email address, content, pictures, call to action button, all the things, the e-signature, all the things. Footers are like, well, it's at the foot, nobody cares. I'm going to show you 3 examples of why you have to make your footer really, really nice and what to put into it. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen and I will show you 3 different footers. Let's go. This is from the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and it is my favorite. First of all, they have their tagline, "Here until Parkinson's isn't," which is a brilliant tagline.
Good. I love them. They're so good.
Now, what's right underneath it? All their social media icons and links and their website. Why? But I just sent you an email. I want you to give. I don't want you to connect with me on Facebook. No. Just because you sent an email, and just because I opened that email as a subscriber, doesn't mean I'm going to give. Let's say I don't want to give, but I still want to be in touch with you. Now, I'm not going to read every single email, but I am on Instagram plenty. I'm going to go connect with the Michael J. Fox Foundation on Instagram. Now you've built the relationship a little bit, because now you have another channel where you can talk to that individual. It's not just on email now. Now it's on social media. So what you want is your social media icons here. Now I'll show you the next example, which is also one of my favorites. It's from the American Lung Association. Look what they do. It's not just that they have all their social media icons here, but they understand that people in any email, but let's just say a fundraising ask, they're not automatically going to give just because the American Lung Association asked. I don't want to gift today. I can't gift today. All kinds of reasons. The American Lung Association still wants to build the relationship with the individual subscriber. You can see here what they've done. 4 quick links in their footer so that the content of the email may not matter to me. But you know what? I would like lung health information. I click here, boom, I'm on the American Lung Association website, and now I'm learning. They are creating value by sharing these 4 quick links in their footer. The same goes for City of Hope. I love this image. That's the first thing. This is in their footer. And then find out more about City of Hope. Patient care research. So yeah, they do have the ways to give here, but they also give you educational and value-added links in their footer. And of course, they've got their social media. Footers, like I said, are the most underused piece of real estate on an email, but totally use them to your advantage. Yes, I see Beth Ann raised her hand. Yes, Beth Ann.
So the last group had the X for Twitter, and these people have Twitter. And I'm going to be honest, I prefer the little bird, even though he's gone the way of the dodo. But what do you think about that?
About what? The X versus the bird?
About changing updating that image.
So here's the deal. I have to go back and look and see how old this email is. This email may have been sent out before Elon Musk switched over to X. That's very possible. Now,
the other people had the X, see?
They have the X, and Michael J. Fox does not have the X. So there you go. Would I change it over? No, because from everything I've read and everything I've seen, the rebrand has been a complete flop up till now. Nobody calls it X. In fact, when I read articles online in tech publications and in news publications, do you know what they call it? They call it, this was seen on X, and then in brackets, they put formerly known as Twitter.
Exactly. So, you hear that on NPR all the time.
Yeah, so it hasn't necessarily taken, whatever Elon is doing, whatever, it doesn't matter. I agree with Beth just from a design perspective. Yeah, that bird, way more inviting than just an X in your face. I like the bird.
So we just have 2 more things or 3 more things maybe to cover. I wanted to talk about, Ephraim, you're going to talk about the right number of times to email, or the wrong number of times, perhaps. I just wanted to also talk about quickly what you have as your out of office email, which you may be having coming up for Thanksgiving. You might be having during December, there's a lot of holidays going on. So when you have your out of office, I want you to remember that your out of office is not for your colleagues. Or in Microsoft Office, I was able to have a different out of office email response for my internal audience versus my external audience. But you need to be thinking about your external audience. And if you're working in the fundraising space, I want you to be thinking about donors. What are we going to write? Now, I've seen the whole long ones about I'm taking this time and, that are very reflective. People just want to know, when are you going to be back? And where can I go to make a gift? And, maybe something about meeting our mission or something like that. So instead of just having, I will be out of the office from December 23 to December 27, please be in touch with Sally or, Dana, Chris, whoever it is, with an email and all that. I would love to have it more friendly. I would love it to have it as if you were writing to your 90-year-old grandma, so that it sounds more friendly and warm instead of just the fax, ma'am. And it has a link of, if you'd like to make a gift right now, otherwise, please respond and I'll be in touch right away. I always say I look forward to speaking with you upon my return, something like that, or connecting. I say I look forward to connecting upon my return. So make sure you have an external facing donor/customer friendly type of out of office message. It's not, I'd really like you to not just pound something out right before you leave the door and just have it be the fax. Make sure donors get a chance to know where they can make a gift and when you'll be back so that they can be in touch with you.
Beth Ann, I just want to add something. Sam, I'm giving you a little foreshadowing. In the email I'll be sending out tomorrow with my weekly send, which we'll get to in a second. So Sam, as a subscriber, you should just know I'm including an entire post about out of office emails and how to write them and what to write. But there's one this one worked for major donors, but for non-major donors, you can have a little bit of fun with your out of office emails. And here's the opening to one that I received. Dear colleagues, friends, teammates, enemies, spammers, hackers, poets, shamans, and superheroes. That was the opening of his out of office email. It is the absolute best that I've ever read. Thank you, Beth Ann, for putting the link in there if you want to subscribe. But that will be going out tomorrow, is a post about out of office emails and how important they are to building relationships and connecting.
Now, I've seen the slide that you have. Tell us about how many times one should or should not.
Okay, so before I show you the screen, I don't want to scare everybody. So before I share this, let's talk. I get this question often, Beth Ann, I know you get this question. How often should we email our subscribers, let's say end of year? How often? Now, here's the deal. During the year, and certainly during the year, you're not asking enough. You're not emailing them enough. If somebody says once a month is enough, no, it's not enough. And I'm going to tell you why. Most people don't open every email you send. In fact, the average is they're only going to open up 1 out of every 4. So you do the math. They're only going to see 1 out of every 4 emails. Email more often. You're not emailing enough. That's the first thing. Second of all, how many emails is the right number to send? There's no right, there's no wrong. But I am going to say, I'm going to paraphrase what I don't remember which justice it was, but a Supreme Court justice once said, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. We won't discuss what topic he was talking about, but I can say the same thing. If you're emailing a lot of times in one day, and it just, again, one after the other, after the other, after the other, yeah, it does feel a little bit like you're bombarding somebody. However, I asked a friend of mine, she's a millennial and a fundraiser, and I said, would 9 times in one day be a lot? And she said, you know what? Yes, except for the fact that I might not open the first 8, but I will open the 9th and I'll give. Your subject line in the 9th just got me, or I didn't notice the other 8. So is there a right or wrong? There isn't. What I can tell you is when it's too many, and this one is one of my favorite slides only because it's just, it's crazy. One sec, because I want to put this on, I want to have this on full screen so you can get the full effect. Here you go. This is from Friends of the Earth. Trigger warning, yes. This is from Friends of the Earth. They emailed me, and I did this by the timestamp on the emails. They emailed me 23 times in 31 minutes, in 31 hours and 4 minutes. 23 times in 31 hours and 4 minutes. That's basically emailing me once an hour for an entire day. This is a little bit much. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot. Just so you know, by the way, Friends of the Earth emailed me 10 times in 16 hours on Giving Tuesday last year. So this is, for them, this is their playbook, apparently. Just flood people with emails. On average, I get from them at least 2 emails a day. Just something like that. It's just like they send a lot of emails. Okay, whatever. I could go on about that another time. What I am showing you here, though, is this was my inbox from one organization. Now I want you to think your subscribers are just like you. They don't only subscribe to your e-newsletter. They subscribe to a lot. So for them, the month of December is one after the other, after the other, after the other. Does that mean you shouldn't send? No. In December, the first bunch of weeks of December, I'd be sending at least twice. And then in the last week, in fact, in the last 3 days, Beth Ann knows the statistics on this. 30% of all giving happens in December, and 12% of all giving happens in the last 3 days of December, the 29th, 30th, and 31st, which means that on the last 3 days, I would email at least once, if not twice, to your list. Keep in mind, one, as soon as somebody gives an online donation, please, if you can, as fast as you can, take them off the send list. They don't need to get an email after they already gave. Number 2, we're talking about segmenting. But even 6 emails over 3 days, it's not a lot because, again, people generally read 1 out of every 4, even 1 out of every 3, which is above average. You send 6 emails, they're only going to read 2. So don't worry that if your boss says to you, you're sending too many emails and you know, we're going to get complaints. No one's going to complain to you. No one. No one's going to send you an email.
Back up for a second.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I just want to show people where sometimes they have that little, you have the opportunity to write a preview. So
Preview
let's look at the
text.
top two. So the top one doesn't have preview text. It starts into the body of the email, but the next one does have preview text where it says, this is a little addition. Please don't waste this opportunity today. Now, in my email list for my newsletter, I try to use that to enhance what I've written above. And what do you think about that, where some have it and some don't? Though a lot of them are, please don't waste this opportunity today. Oh my gosh.
Hold on.
That's
If you
so
remember
funny.
a couple minutes ago, I told you that I get a newsletter, a monthly newsletter with the subject line, our monthly newsletter. Do you know what the preview text is?
No.
Twitter logo, Instagram logo, Facebook logo. That's the
What?
preview text, because nobody sets it. So the email sender, the email provider, the email service provider, sorry, that runs their emails, it just generates it automatically. And that's their preview text. Preview text, as Beth Ann said, is another way to get my foot in the door. So maybe the subject line did it for me or didn't, but if the preview text kind of seals the deal, there's more of a chance of an open. So the preview text is put part of the call to action in the preview text, amplify the subject line so that it makes, if maybe somebody might not understand the subject line completely or whatever it is, amplify it. You have this preview text, use it to your advantage. Not using it to your advantage ends up like this. What Beth Ann pointed, the top one, the email service provider just pulls from the opening of your email and will just start writing the preview text. It doesn't look good and it doesn't do anything for me. Mm-hmm. So use that preview text to your, to your advantage. But like I said, Carrie, I agree with what you said there that, you can't say, I agree with you about the preview text. One of the issues with preview text is, or not issues, one of the things is you have to test it on different, on different, use it on different devices. So you want to make sure that it looks good on a phone, it looks good on a tablet, it looks good on a laptop, it looks good on a big computer screen, and you want to test it. Now, preview text on mobile is going to get cut off just because of the size of the screen, as opposed to on my laptop where it won't get cut off necessarily. So you've got a lot more room. One of the things you obviously want to check is how many of your subscribers are looking at your emails on mobile and how many are looking on desktop or laptop. Some email service providers do provide that insight for you. Just as a general piece of knowledge, over 50% of people read emails on their phones. So basically, assume that half your list, if you don't have the data, assume that over half your list is reading your emails on their phones, and therefore it has to look good on the phone. So yes, to what Carrie said, the preview text for a phone still has to be short. It can't be too long. You have to be careful.
I'm going to make sure everybody can either raise their hand or speak up. We have one more topic to cover, but I want to make sure we get your questions in. We've got 10 minutes more to go, which is frictionless or less friction, fewer potholes on your donation form. So does anybody have a quick question? You could just unmute yourself if you want, or you might just be here to absorb and learn, which is totally cool as well. We're in the absorption stage, it looks like. So Ephraim, I know you've worked a lot, and actually one thing you share and have an opportunity on is working with people's donation forms. So can you give us what you know?
I'm going to give you the basics that don't necessarily appear on a lot of forms. Number one, a great header image, a great hero image, same as your emails. Absolutely have it. Have a great header image. Number two, your mission statement or something about your mission and the problem you're trying to solve must be there. Don't assume that if I came to your online donation form, I already know what I'm there for and I already know what I'm doing. Yeah. Have that there. Next, offer one-time and monthly giving. Do not let that opportunity go. Do not let it go. No, I'm telling you, so many times I see pages that just don't have monthly giving, and I'm trying to understand, why are you not offering that? Obviously, you should have a monthly giving program and a monthly giving strategy. That's a separate webinar, the whole thing, but offer that. Next, when it comes to the fields, I cannot overemphasize this enough. The number one thing that causes people to abandon carts, outside of things like it costs too much, I started the process, this is donation forms, is friction. What's that friction? You start asking for things you don't need. You do not need to know if I am Mr., Mrs., Doctor, father, rabbi. You don't need that. There is no reason for it. You do not need to ask me my my blood type. You do not need my Zoom ID. You do not need all the craziness that you could ask in a form. Keep your forms as short and simple as possible. If you don't need it, don't ask it. Because when you start asking for things that cause me to wonder, why the heck are they asking me for this? That's friction. The second you introduce friction into a form, you will automatically lose conversions. People will simply not finish filling out the forms. I wonder, why do they need this from me? I understand you need my credit card information and you need the 3-digit thing on the back.
And
But do
first
you really
name,
need my
last
phone
name,
number?
email, right? First name, last name, email
First
to
name,
match
last
the credit card.
Correct. But I don't need the phone number. I see forms that make phone number mandatory. Why? You don't need it. There's no reason. If you're asking for phone number and then asking us, so that'll lead me into the next thing. Why would you ask for phone number? Because you can have an opt-in checkbox to receive texts from the organization as another way of building the relationship. Beth Ann, she's the queen of this. She'll tell you. A donation is not the end of the road. It is the beginning. It is the start of the relationship. It starts with gratitude and then continuing to connect with that person. So it could be that person got to this donation form via email, but you know what? They prefer getting texts from your organization. Offer them that opportunity. At the same time, offer them an opt-in checkbox to sign up for your e-newsletter. Again, allow them to connect with you in a different way. Definitely have that. And finally, covering processing fees. I know that some people, I get that question and I tell them, yes, first of all, QGIV generational report, younger donors will cover it. That's number one. Number two, a lot of people will cover it. Offer it. Just make sure it's opt-in. Do not pre-check the checkbox. Allow me as the donor to check it, but definitely ask people to help cover the processing fees. And I see Carrie had a question here in the chat, which relates to what I said. What about including phone number, but not make it mandatory? Here's the deal. Again, on that form, I would not ask for it because people don't know. Even if it's not mandatory, why are you asking for it? They get a little bit suspicious. Phone number is something that we're going to get spam in our inboxes, right? So they're okay with giving you an email address. The second I give you my phone number, I start to wonder, are they going to start spamming me with texts? Are they going to call me? I agree with your idea, Carrie. Phone calls work 100% in terms of donor retention, higher gift values, longer, they stay with the organization longer, etc. I agree with you 100%. But if you're going to ask for the phone number, I would put a little thing there that says, we want to call and say thank you, or something that lets them know why you want it. Or at least let them know we're only going to use it for gratitude purposes and nothing else.
Yeah, one thing I do, Carrie, is after that basic transaction is over and you're going to have a warm, not created by a machine, not the automatic thing from your donor CRM provider. You're going to have a nice automatic email saying we got your gift and the transaction went through. After that, you should have an automatic, or it can be actually from you, depending on the level of donor, about hi, I'm Carrie. I'm, whatever your actual title is, it's going to be, I'm kind of in the donor love and care department, whatever you want to call that. And we actually do thank our donors in different ways. So I'm wondering what the best way, what your preferred way, I like saying your preferred way to be in touch. We definitely can be in touch by email, but if you would appreciate a thank you call, even if you don't answer, if you prefer to get something by text occasionally, then we would love to, I'd love to work with you that way, in the way you prefer. Or a few times in that email, when you are writing to do an additional thank you, you're reconfirming that you want to do what's best for them. I say, what is your preferred email? What is the best phone number for me to reach you on? There'll be a few people that still have a landline somewhere. So I'm not against that, but I would make that as a second conversation point for your donors, and to have something one-to-one with you. That's my 2 cents.
But Carrie, the fact that you're calling donors to thank them, 100 thumbs up.
Yes.
Keep at it. Keep at it, because so many people don't do it. And it's such an amazing way to say thank you. And like I said, the data we have on phone calls, everything points to higher retention, higher gift values. So phone calls are definitely the way to go when it comes to gratitude.
And I know everybody likes to fill out every little data field on the CRM, but remember, it's about what the donor likes. I have given in the past to a political party here in the US, and honey, they pass my name and details around. Well, I'm on Give Blue, so they will. I can't even, and they call me Betty, and I really hate it because I am not a Betty, and so, but I get so mad that I'll get texts. And now that I live in Canada, I shouldn't be making gifts, as a foreigner. So, people, there are other bad people who've come before you. Anyway, I'm just going to say, if you're still here, thank you very much. I'd love to hear what you think you'll be able to action, or your key takeaway, or something you're going to share with your marketing team or other people on your fundraising team. If you'd like, you can either unmute and spout it out, or you can type it. That'd be great. But anything else, Ephraim, that you want to add?
Those emails. Do not be afraid to send emails. As I told somebody today, do not make assumptions for your subscribers. If you have a boss or a board chair who says, we're sending too many emails, it's because they're saying it from their own perspective. They are not saying it from the subscriber's perspective. They're just not. And I guarantee you that if you asked your subscribers, you get a different answer, because they don't open every email. So don't be afraid to send. Don't be afraid to ask. And as Carrie said, personalized, absolutely, Carrie, 100%. You know what? I didn't even discuss it. But if you're sending a fundraising ask, the opening should be, hi, Beth Ann, dear Beth Ann, hello, right. Beth Ann. Use their name, because again, it's that one-to-one communication between somebody at your organization and the individual subscriber. Use that first name field. You've already got it. Use it.
That Friends of the Earth had friend every time. I was getting a little.
They don't. Well, they may not have asked for my name. When it comes to asking for first name, I'm a big fan of it. Only if you're going to personalize your emails. But I know places that in the subscription form, in the sign up form, they ask for first name and then in email, but then they never address me by my first name. They did exactly what you said. They just want to fill up database space. They have an empty space in a database and they got to fill up that cell. And so they do. That adds friction to the process. If you're not going to use my first name, don't ask for it. So personalization everywhere you can, in the subject line, in the hello, the e-signature, the content should be personalized to that specific group of donors or that donor, especially if it's major donors, but certainly to your monthly donors as well, who have high retention rates as well. So yes, personalization.
Yeah,
totally.
I think that's what we've got. So you also can test. I mean, that's the other thing. If you have a pretty big list, you could also test. And what I understand is the testing is significant if you get 500 responses to be able to tell. So if you have a list of 1,000, you may not get 500 people that open each email, but you could test having dear friend versus having something personal. You could test that to prove to people above you who may say they don't like getting that many emails, but you do have to do the asking. And unless you have something that's super standout or you've got a fantastic relationship, you are going to have to email more than once, as we come to the year end.
I'm going to add on to Beth, what she just said, what Beth Ann just said. If you're testing, I'll give you something real simple to test, the subject line. If you have 1,000 subscribers, send to 500 subject line A and to 500 subject line B. I don't want you to look at your open rate. I want you to look at how many people clicked on each email. The subject line is going to help people get in the door. Obviously, they need the image and the content, but that subject line, you may see subject line B was so much better than A in terms of clicks, conversions, and all of that, that from now on, every subsequent email you send, you can use subject line B because it works better. It's a simple test, but do it so that you know which subject lines work better. Again, 1/3 of subscribers open an email based on the subject line alone. So your subject lines have to shine. So that's a
And
good thing to test.
the click-through rate is more important than the open rate because it's where they've taken an action. And I see that on the emails I send out for myself is I get a report immediately. What is the top click? Sometimes I had a line from a poem, so that was the top clicked thing today. But is it something that they registered for? Is it one of my freebies? Like that's what actually matters, is the click-through rate, not the open rate. Anyways, thank you so much.
Beth Ann knows I get very Beth Ann, I get very soapboxy when I talk about open rates and why it doesn't matter. So I will not do that. You said enough. We're good.
I just want to thank everybody. For anybody who signed up, you'll be getting obviously you're watching this as a replay, or you might want to share it with somebody who wasn't able to come. So thank you so much. And Ephraim, thank you for all your expertise. We really appreciate it. When I send this out, I'll include, if you wanted to get some help from Ephraim or get on the weekly send, which I really enjoy. You kind of have a weekly autopsy of emails. I don't know what a good thing to say. So anyway,
a review.
That's right.
Critique and review.
That's right. So take care, everybody.